Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, The Edge. I know it's been a little inactive lately, but I've been moving into college, and today I have Alexis Forman with me, who also just moved into college. So, Alexis, if you would like to introduce yourself a little.
Yeah, hi. My name's Alexis Forman, like you said. I am a violin major studying at New England Conservatory in Boston. And yeah, I'm just so excited. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, starting the school year off good.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. Me and Alexis have been friends for about almost 5 years now, which is crazy.
Mhm.
We went to high school together, so we met there. Uh,
Mhm.
And as Alexis mentioned, she plays the violin and she's been playing for quite a while now, I believe. And so, my
Yeah.
first question to you is what inspired you to start playing the violin? And how old were you when you began?
Yeah. So I was 2.5 when I started violin. We had these friends. They're actually our family friends now, but they were just performers at one of my parents' events that they had, and they were triplets. They are triplets, and their group name is Elisma, three Polish sisters, and I was just so mesmerized by them, and I was at a younger age than 2.5, and then um, my sister studied at this school in Las Vegas for guitar. And I was in that school waiting for her, and I saw violin and I wanted to try. And then we got a trial lesson, and it seemed like I like it. I liked it. So it was obviously meant to be. And I've never stopped.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that's how you initially started. That's so cool. And how old were you again? You were
Two
like,
and a half, almost three.
oh my goodness. Wow.
Mhm.
So you've been at it for like almost, yes, like 17 years.
Mhm.
Insane. And throughout those long 17 years, what would you say was one of the larger challenges of being a musician? Because, it's not really a common thing. Like, I don't have any other friends who are professional musicians. So, what would you say in that industry is one of the larger challenges?
I would say being a musician itself. I think throughout middle school and high school, it's obviously for all of us, it's tough because you have to balance school, social life, and music itself. And music always came first. So it was hard, I guess I would say missing out on certain things. But honestly, I'm so grateful that all the work that I did and the work that my parents, um, inspired me to do and the teachers that I worked with inspired me to do. But also, I think that being an artist in general, you have times where you question, like, do I really want to do this because of how much work, both physically and mentally, it takes. But honestly, pushing through and not letting those voices get, between you and your instrument or you and whatever art form you do is so important. And that's what I've learned these past around 16 years.
Right.
Um,
And of course, even the pressure that comes with it, because, like, for example, if someone is doing a different major, right, like taking science or English or whatever it may be, and they have a huge exam coming up, they make a mistake, but they catch it, they can reverse it, they can erase the problem. But for
totally.
you have one shot when it comes to show day, right?
Yes, definitely. And that's where all the hours and hours of practice come in.
Right.
Because you have to prepare yourself physically, how you play, how you're going to perform, but also mentally, preparing yourself for the stage and just every situation that you're going to be in performing.
Right. And how would you, to anyone who has trouble managing time, whether they're in music or not, what would you say are maybe some pointers on
Mhm.
time management?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm not perfect at time management at all, but I have learned, especially through high school, that obviously, first of all, naming your priorities. Um, even if you want to go hang out with your friends one night, but you know you have certain things to do, you need to know what your priorities are in order to really like section out your time. But also, I think it's so important to have days where you take a break or have days where, you know, you have some sort of like a rest from your art form, from your academics, because that recharges your body. And it's just so important. I've learned because I've had times where I've had, nerve pain, stuff like that, just from kind of doing constant practice or things like that. So I've just learned that being able to take a rest and letting your body kind of reset is crucial. So I would say finding a balance between, those that hard work, which is going to be a lot, and also the rest is just so important.
Yeah. And you had to, because I remember when we went to high school together, you had to balance all of those hours of practice with all of those hours of schoolwork
Mm-hmm.
because our teachers were hard. I mean, there's just, there's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your strategies for that?
I would say, first of all, at school, I would ask teachers for help, do some work at school, but once I got home, um, I usually would practice 3 hours a day and then do my homework the rest of the hours. I think that it's important, even if you didn't get a lot of sleep, to really get everything done. And that's where the rest days come in because you can work hard for like so many days, but then resetting is really important. But yeah, for balancing schoolwork, just I guess time management, as in like knowing your assignments or knowing certain pieces you have to learn, being able to time that out
Yeah.
and doing a little at a time instead of cramming it. I've learned, which I've done a lot of cramming in both violin and academics, but I've learned that doing little sections at a time just makes life way less stressful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And you practice 3 hours a day, right? And how many hours do you think you did per day of homework?
Depended on the day, but probably 3 to 4.
So you would work almost 70-hour weeks. So that's kudos to you. That's amazing. I mean, I've always been blown away by like how amazing you play. I remember it was it was the Candle Rose, I think. You had that solo. Oh my gosh, I almost started crying. It was so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I loved it so much. But
Oh,
like I knew like I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder how many hours she spent practicing because it sounded flawless. Like I'm serious.
thank you so
Like
much.
it really was beautiful." And to anyone starting out in music or maybe some kind of other career where they have to face a large audience, how would you say they should navigate stage fright? Because I know I have really bad stage fright, so I'll apply this to me too.
Yeah, I think all of us experience some sort of a stage fright, but I personally have struggled with kind of nerve stage fright. So like shake my hands shaking, stuff like that. But I've learned it's all mental.
Hmm.
So I've done things like during my audition season, first of all, which you know about. I every week would do mock auditions, which were like playing through all my pieces for so many people. I would play at school for people, just letting my nerves out. That helped me so much. And then a funny one is actually eating a banana 30 minutes before I perform.
Really?
Bananas, I don't know what is in them that does this, but it helps relax your nerves.
Potassium, maybe?
Yeah, probably the potassium. But that helps me a lot. But honestly, at the end of the day, I'm religious, obviously. So
Yes.
I, once I, did all of that work, performed in front of so many people before my auditions or before a performance, I surrendered it and I just, whatever happens, happens. And I know I put in this work. So like the rest is just to try to make people, affected by my music and, touch them and touch their souls as much as I could.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it's such a beautiful thing because that's how when I think of music, I think that's probably the ultimate goal for any musician, right? Is to reach their audience.
Definitely.
And you don't have to worry because you reached me, and I'm sure everyone else in our entire class, and I'm sure everyone who has ever heard you play, because you really are just amazing, of
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
course. Have you battled with not false expectations, but like putting yourself at really high expectations for a certain piece or a certain show and, the stress that came with it? How did you learn to, give yourself grace? Because we're all high achievers here. So I think this would be really good advice for a lot of us.
Yeah, for sure. I've done that many times and I still sometimes do that, but I've just
That's
learned
normal.
kind of not to expect anything.
Hmm.
And also, I think this a lot of times can relate to kind of comparing yourself to others,
Right.
and trying to be better, stuff like that. And some of that is positive, trying to be the best version of yourself, stuff like that. But I think thinking about myself in a way of, how have I grown in this experience or, through a performance, even if it wasn't my best, I learned something. So I don't, yeah, I mean, I'm still learning that, but
So you would say like the advice you would give to people is to adopt more of a growth mindset instead of a finite mindset.
yes. And honestly, I wouldn't try to prioritize that one thing, like I want to win this or I want to do the
Mhm.
specific thing.
Right.
Which sometimes is good for certain people, but for me, it's more about what can I get out of this, or what are the steps I can take to kind of achieve something. And that comes in with like the little steps, and not just thinking about, for example, I practiced one day and I wanted to achieve this big thing.
Hmm.
I realized that the little steps I do every day for a longer period of time is what brought me to that success. So instead of thinking about, I have to do this in order for me to be happy with myself, or I have to succeed at this for whatever it is. I think just thinking about how it can help me grow and yeah, just the little steps.
Yeah, I really love that. It's kind of like, building Legos. Like,
For sure. Yeah.
instead of expecting to finish the Lego castle in one day, it's like little building blocks. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good analogy too, because it's unrealistic to expect the world from yourself. Because I've struggled with this too. You know me, I'm a perfectionist, and it's hard. It gets hard no
Mhm.
matter what what industry somebody is in. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, of course.
To anyone who would like to maybe start in music, who's interested, what advice would you give them to start?
I would say listen to a bunch of professional violinists or whatever instrument you want to play or art. Um, I would say just really get yourself indulged in so many different aspects of what you want to go into.
Mhm.
Because I know that, listening to soloists like Hilary Hahn, Midori, Itzhak Perlman, they constantly inspire me. And also just going to your peers, if you know a musician or if you know an adult who's a musician, just going to them and asking them for advice. Um, yeah, and just using that and also know that like every single person's journey is unique and different. So just get inspired by those people, but don't try to be those people. So I would say um yeah, just really, really look at all the aspects of that one thing that you really want to go into and then go off of that.
Yeah, I love that point you made where try to be inspired by others, but don't try to be others. I think that that's really important because one of the most common things people ask you is, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Exactly.
right? And it's like, then it gives you that thought, like, oh, I have to be this person. It's just, it's unrealistic. And it puts this expectation in your head. And it's like, oh, if I can't be this person, then who am I?
For
Like,
sure. No, yeah, that's the wrong. Yeah, it's not really right to say that because we're all, created uniquely for a purpose. So I think it's just so important to look at yourself as, you're made for something. So you shouldn't compare yourself at all. And obviously we all make mistakes and I compare myself
me
I've
too.
compared myself and I still do sometimes, but yeah, just think of yourself as unique and, your own journey.
Throughout your musical career, what would you say was like your biggest win, if you have one?
I would say I have two.
Okay.
I have multiple, I think, because they're all stepping stones that of where I've gotten to.
Hmm.
One would be being able to study here,
Yeah.
because this was my dream conservatory to study at. So just having the opportunity to be here around these incredible musicians and artists is so inspiring, and I've honestly never experienced it before. Because I'm going to a conservatory, which conservatory is just art students. Music students specifically. So vocalists, instrumentalists, jazz players, opera singers, all of that. So just being inspired by these people is insane. And it's just an amazing experience. And then I would also say getting to solo at the Colburn School of Music with an orchestra. That was amazing because, it's everyone's, at least for classical music, playing with an orchestra is such an incredible opportunity. And a lot of us don't get the opportunity to have that. So I'm just so grateful to have had that in my high school career and being able to play with my peers in that orchestra because I got to play with the orchestra. I am the assistant concertmaster, or I was. That was incredible. Yeah. Mhm.
That's amazing. And what are your goals for college? Like what do you want to do now that you're at NEC, right? And
Mhm.
do you want to continue with orchestra or what are
I think, personally, I do want to focus on my solo
Mhm.
um, performance, working on my technique, just really being able to fully create a foundation for myself and just growing all of that, using what I've learned, but also, learning new things and working with so many different incredible faculty here, including the teacher I'll be studying with, Ayano Ninomiya.
Right.
Um, and also for education in general, I do want to get my doctorate in music. So
That's amazing.
that's a goal of mine, which will hopefully later on, I do want to solo, hopefully around, be amazing to go around the world soloing, but hopefully being able to teach others later on in life after my doctorate and just sharing the amazing you know, advice and teaching methods that I've been taught throughout my life, through my teachers at Colburn, Margaret Batjer and Henry Grenier, and my teacher here that I'll be studying with, and all the summer programs that I've attended. So that would be just incredible.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you wanted a doctorate in music. I can so see it though. Oh my gosh. No,
That's so cool.
that's so amazing. Yeah, and I know who to ask to play for my wedding, hopefully one day.
For sure, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, thank you so much, Alexis, for joining me today on the episode.
Thank you for having me. I would loved it.
And it's so great to talk to you, and I'm so glad you're settled in. We're both settled in. We're gonna do great
I'm
things.
so excited. I can't wait for you too. It's amazing.